Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. Oh, we're on Death Note episode 9. Last episode was one of my favorites, and I just got done watching the dub. Light's voice when he's like, I'll take the chip and eat it. It was so good. It was so good. The dub was great. I really loved the dub for this last episode, especially Ryuk trying to explain his apple withdrawals. It was just wonderful. And the voice of, some of you had said in the comments to pay attention to how L answers the phone, and when he answers the phone for Matsuda, his voice changes. He's like, hello, he like puts on a fake voice. It was great. It was wonderful. I love the dub episode for episode 8. 8's probably one of my favorites so far. It's just so freaking good. But we're on episode 9. I'm recording a little bit ahead. Episode 8 has not aired on Patreon yet, and episode 7 is about to come out on YouTube. What a fun episode that is. But I do have a couple comments before we start episode 9. Like I said in the last episode, I'm really worried about Chief Yagami's mental state and all of this. With L's mental state, he's getting obsessed, clearly. Light thinks he's got the world in the palm of his hand, nothing to worry about, and Ryuk just wants some apples. So everything's going in Light's favor so far, so maybe he won't have anything to worry about. I don't know, but I do have a couple comments. Shoshi TV noted that the pin burrs are the point where people start choosing sides. I really agree with that. I feel like by the end of episode 7, you really have decided if you are on board with Light and his agenda, or if you're kind of like, that's not right. So I feel like everybody's like, I don't think what Light is doing, I admire Light for wanting to rid the world of evil, but I think it's gotten a little bit out of hand and away from him. He's no longer, it's not just him killing criminals for the sake of making the world a better place anymore. It's that he wants to become a god, and he wants to destroy anybody that's standing in his way. And right now, he's not so much concerned with killing these criminals because they're evil. It's mainly just as part of the game against L. And so I don't like what Light is doing, but he's so damn charismatic and his ego is so endearing that you just can't help but kind of root for him. It's like, ugh. But at the same time, I want L to catch him. So it's a very twisted game. I'm going to try to stay in the neutral ground because my thing is we don't know everything about L. We know enough about L that he's charming, but again, Light can be that too. So I want to reserve as much judgment overall as I can until I get towards the end of the series, or at least to a turning point that I feel like, oh, we now know L pretty well. Because we're just now figuring out what L even looks like. We don't know a lot about L. We're just getting little idiosyncrasies from him as we go. But I don't want to say that Light, I'm against Light necessarily as a character and I'm all for L until I find more out about L's character. But I definitely am not on board with Light. Light's just so damn cocky. It's just, and then some dude, Peiko Still, Be Happy, a bunch of people were commenting about how Naomi was originally supposed to be in the story longer. And I was like, oh, because some dude and Be Happy noted that Naomi was originally supposed to be in the story longer, but the mangaka realized that either one of two things would happen. Either the story would end sooner than expected, which is pretty high praise for our girl Naomi, or that she would outshine L and Light. And I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah, Naomi was such an awesome character, but she was too good. She was too good to stay in the story. And so the mangaka made the decision to kill her off. And that makes so much more sense now with episode 7. My biggest thing that kept nagging at me in episode 7 was I was like, she goofed, right? And I was like, but he was giving off all these red flags. And now we find out that it's kind of a plot contrivance. The mangaka just had to write her out. And so it just kind of, it makes more sense now. I was like, okay. Because I was like, man, she really wasn't picking up on Light, but the mangaka just made it that way. So on the one hand, I'm sad she died early, but on the other hand, it's freaking cool to know that the mangaka reached a point where they were like, oh shit, I either need to write her out, or either this manga's going to end a lot sooner, or she's going to outshine L and Light. And so I was like, man, Naomi, she was too good to stay in the manga. She had to be killed off. I'm like, that's pretty impressive, right? So thank you for telling me about that. And then Alex Cornejo talks about that if L is Batman, then is Ryuk the Joker and Light the Riddler. And I was like, oh, I said Light was the Joker last time just because I think of iconic villain and arch nemesis, and I think of Batman and the Joker. But in all reality, Light would much more be the Riddler, and Ryuk would be the Joker. He even has like the mask, the facial, the smile with the makeup and everything. It's not really makeup, but y'all know what I mean. But I really like that, Alex. That was a good analogy there. Peiko still noted that apparently there's 12 volumes of the manga, which is cool. It's not a lot. I could totally read that. That explains why the series is 37 episodes, covering these 12 volumes. Nice. But explains that the 13th volume is a guidebook that you can actually read alongside the manga, and it gives you information about the characters and the plot points, kind of like a commentary, that as it's kind of like a companion commentary you can read while going through the manga. And I'm like, that's really freaking cool. So I think I definitely want to read the manga after I'm done. I'll probably do it on my own time, but I'd like to get that little guidebook and then read alongside it. That would be really neat. So thanks, Peiko. And also, Be Happy noted that there is an actual novel called LABB Murders that is what Naomi's case was based off of. I'm like, that's really neat. So I liked that. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, it was a really good episode. Episode 8. Episode 7 was really good too. But it's such a, you feel like you want to sit on your hands, because on the one hand, I don't want Light to get away with what he's doing, but on the other hand, I want him to not get caught. So it's what a conundrum, right? What a conundrum indeed. And I want Elle to figure out who it is, but at the same time, it's such a twist. But we've talked enough, so let's not waste any more time. I'm ready to dive into episode 9. I hope y'all are too, but we're going to start episode 9 of Death Note. And we are going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. What was this episode? What was this episode? What? No, L's fine, like fine. I'll go investigate myself. Oh! Because he's obsessed. He is obsessed with Light to the point where he's like, nope, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I've got this. I can't believe that he just, not only when he went to, I thought the testing thing was it. I was like, okay, he went to the testing site. That was going to be the big surprise. Like, he went to go follow Light, and then I figured he'd like do some surveillance outside of Light's house. But to not only do that, to enroll in the same college, and because he could have taken the entrance exam and then just, not gone. He could have just done that, right? And Light would have been like, wow, what a weirdo. And he just, but they both scored a perfect 100% on the test. They both scored a perfect 100%. And he's going to the same college. They're going to be college roomies. You know what? Someone a few episodes ago in the comments, they were like, man, it's like Light and Elle are like soulmates. And somebody was like, no, they're like soul enemies. And I'm like, I'm sure that there is like a numerous amount of fan fiction about Light and Elle now, because I'm like, oh, it is Sherlock and Moriarty to a T. It is the arch rivals, the two that got the perfect score. They're testing each other, and this is Light's challenge. I'm like, remember Light when you were trying to just make the world a better place, and now you're obsessed with Elle and killing him? This guy that's done nothing to you or to anyone else that we know of? Okay. I feel like as this series, and the other thing too, as I was watching this episode, I was like, we are only 9 episodes in. We still have like, we're not even, we're like barely a third of the way through the series. Barely. There's so much left to go. And I'm like, I'm just like, and then they were roommates, right? I'm just waiting for that to happen, right? Oh my God. This episode, I thought that really that was going to be the end of it. He goes to the exam. He follows Light around his house, does some surveillance, kind of like what Ray Pinbar did. Whatevs. But no, he enrolls in the same college, shows up with his butler in their nice fancy town car. Everybody's kind of like mad at Ryuga. I find it interesting that his aliases so far, with the exception of Elle, his aliases all have Ryu in them. And again, Ryuk is Shinigami. And we have Ryuga, and we have Ryuzaki. And so I'm sure he chose, the reason why he chose the name Ryuga is, one, because he knew it was the pop idol guy that his sister was watching the show of. So I'm sure that the sister has an emotional connection to him. So he's like, I'll pick that guy, because then it's like, is Light going to be the one to kill his sister's pop idol? And then he has to live with that. Not that Light would care, because he's a freaking sociopath. But yeah, it's like, no. But also because of the Ryu. So the Ryu is interesting, which Ryu means dragon. So it's so curious. I feel like Ryu is somewhere in his name or in his mother's name or something. There's a reason he's choosing Ryu. And then I'm like, someone commented, they're like, man, L smiles and Romania thinks he's a damn Shinigami. I'm like, well, he's picking the name Ryu in his names and Ryuk is in there too. So what do I do? What do we do? But oh my God, this episode. Just the lengths that these two will go to. I think this episode showcased the lengths that both L and Light will go to accomplish their mission and working rather alone. But man, am I shipping Light and L now? I don't know. I'm all about an enemies to lovers story, but I don't think that's how this is going to end. I don't think, no, this is going to end with one of them dying. It's like, no, Light's a freaking yandere if that's the case. I'm joking, but let's go through this episode. Oh my God. We still haven't seen the girl. I know she's coming. She's going to be there eventually. I don't want any spoilers about her. She'll be in there, I'm sure. But, oh my God. So yeah, so we do basically spend the first little part of this episode touching base to establish that Light has what he's been up to this whole time. And then of course we cut to Ryuk. And poor Ryuk with like his body like disjointed, like he's been through all these withdrawals. He's like, Light, I really like an apple, please. Just please. I'm glad that he finally caves and gives him a damn apple. I was like, give that Shinigami an apple at some point. And God, he's like, hey, please. I flew around you above you a bunch, up to the radius of 100 meters, I'm sure. But there was a news report about Interpol display. Yeah, and he tries to say the Interpol thing, and Ryuk's like, no, you said you were bluffing. It's all a lie. I love it. I love that he's just all contorted and everything. It's great, and hopping like on one foot. And I think Light buys him an apple, not because he's wanting to be kind, but because he just wants Ryuk to shut up. Like that's the sad thing. Light is so, which granted, he's a Shinigami. Light doesn't have to be nice to him, but it's funny because Light's just like, fine, I'll buy you an apple. And it's like, you're just doing it because you're tired of him like begging around you. Oh my God. And he's like, all right. I freaking love Ryuk in this series. I told my brother the other day, he asked how Death Note was going, and I was like, oh, I'm only at this point. He was like, okay. And I said, okay, tell me in one word. I'm like, are you team Ryuk? Are you team L? Or are you team Light? And he looked at me and he was like, I don't know if I want to answer that. I'm just say one name. I'm like, if you were in any team, because he's watched the entire series, I'm like, which would you be? And he was like, Ryuk. And I was like, me too. So yeah, I'm like, as much as I love L, and as ridiculous as Light is, I'm definitely team Ryuk. I'm like, his Shinigami ways are so cute and endearing. He just wants to have apples and cause chaos. Who are we to judge him? And I just love that he's sitting there doing the handstand while Light gives the apples. And the fact that only Light can see this is absolutely ridiculous. It's so funny. And he's just like, God, I hate you. But he gives him the apple, and then he's able to calm down and tells him to eat the whole damn core. It's great. He's like, the way you go around treating Shinigami. He's like, what does he say here? You had me search for cameras. I like that he has the rings with the faces on it too. You made me give up eating apples in the house. And then he goes back to normal and like, he like unfolds himself. Yeah. And then he's like, eat the core too. I'm like, Light, you could have just thrown it away. I'm like, is there not a trash can nearby? You could have thrown that in. Oh. And he says, in the end, I'll write your name into my death note and kill ya. And Light just goes, ah, ha, ha, ha. I'm like, honestly, I do agree with Ryuk here. He's like, are you in a position to laugh? Because, yeah, at the end of the day, he's going to kill Light. So, and Light's just like, ha, 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 fun, fun. I think Light knows that Ryuk's having a lot of fun on Earth with Light, and he doesn't. And so, I feel like also Light kind of has Ryuk, or seems to think that he has Ryuk, kind of by the throat, because he's like, well, you hate your world. You hate the Shinigami world. You say it's rotten and awful. Why would you want to leave here? So why would you kill me? Right? So I'm like, I wonder, Light's just egotistical enough to think that Ryuk wouldn't just write his name in the notebook, because he's like, well, you're having fun here. You don't want to ruin that, right? Like I feel like Light believes that in some regard he is manipulating Ryuk a bit. And I'm like, yeah, Ryuk maybe, but I think Ryuk is pretty self-aware. He's just along for the ride. He doesn't care. And then he's like, one thing left to top everything off. So, man, we get to see him in front of the tapes like Ryuzaki about the perch snatcher and the embezzler's heart attack 2 days ago. That happened before my family had any knowledge of it. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, that death during the reaction, I was like, but they saw the names on the TV. They didn't hear about the deaths until afterwards. So he's suggesting those deaths happened before my family even knew, which he is in permanent denial that none of them are Kira. He's like, nope, they wouldn't have known. They didn't even know about the deaths. It's like, well, if they were Kira, they would have, right? They just wouldn't have said anything. He's like, have they been cleared? And I love that Elle's just sitting there like, I suppose you're right. Even though Kira can control the time of death, I don't think there's any way he could set up his victims without watching that broadcast. And he's like, oh. And all he has are sweets. Elle is weird. I love Elle, but here's the thing. He again, like Ryuk, he's weird. He loves I don't think I've seen Elle eat anything but sweet things and tea and coffee. I don't think I've seen Elle eat a normal piece of food. It's all been desserts and candies. So I'm like, it's just bizarre, right? It's just bizarre that he's not taking care of his body at all. He's just eating sweet foods. And he's like, your son has come home again. Again, it's kind of obsessive, right? He's become obsessed with Light. And he's just like he sits there in front of the cameras waiting for Light to come home. Like Elle's getting sucked in. But at the same time, Light is getting sucked in. It's a love for the ages. It's a love story for the ages. These two enemies fighting each other to the death. Our notebook means death. Yes. And I wonder if Yagami, if the chief is like he just wants to clear his family. Chief Yagami just wants to clear his family's name and have them be no longer surveyed, right? And so Ryuk, he's like, are you going to ignore me and act like you're studying because the cameras are still here? Huh? And then Light's like, yep, I have an idea of where all the cameras are. But only I was able to kill a purse snatcher and embezzler with the potato chip trick. They ended up being minor criminals compared to those I've killed until now. Yeah, so he's like, I've been a little too perfect. Let's go back to normal and, erase that, too perfect, too clean slate. So it's like Light is on the same, not that he's one step ahead of Elle, but he's always at the same place as Elle. He's never behind Elle, which is interesting. And so he's setting up all of these other deaths to happen while he's away from the TV and everything to, again, throw suspicion off of himself, right? And I don't know if Light realizes that Elle and them know that they know Kira has the power to control the time of death. I'm not sure if he realizes that. But I love that he's got little pieces of the Death Note in the textbook, little pieces in the wallet, little pieces everywhere. He just got these little pieces of the Death Note all over the place. And I didn't realize what that was. I'm sure you all have commented so many times now. But that little thing that he sewed the pieces of the Death Note into was his wallet. I was like, oh, that makes sense now. I thought it was like a piece of his coat or something because the wallet is the same shade of cream white as his coat. He's a freaking sociopath. That's not a reason, but I'm also like, a white leather wallet? Really? 2007 called. Yeah, but he left the piece of the Death Note there. Oh, Light. My countermeasures against the surveillance cameras are perfect. So we go back to the hotel room during the past few days, and we've checked the tapes and footage many times. Okay, so now at least we can say that Elle has given coffee cups to everyone sitting at the table. He has been gracious enough as a host to give them all tea or coffee as he's sitting there with his box of chocolates. And I love that everybody has the 5 o'clock shadow. It's just like little Rolos. He's just got little peanut butter cups with the stuff inside of them. He's like, I've come to a conclusion. And I love that Aizawa and all of them, they all have the 5 o'clock shadows, even Matsuda. He's like, of the people, he's like, nobody there is suspicious. No one. And Yagami's like, oh, thank God. I'll remove the cameras and the wiretaps. So the main culprit wasn't here, huh? He's like, don't lower your guard. I love that. I love Samatsu's like, well, damn it. So we did all that work and we didn't find anybody that was suspicious, right? And Yagami's like, don't lower your guard. We're going to narrow down our possibilities from here. And then Elle's like, don't misunderstand me. He's like, no. And all of these is like, bleh. He's like, I mean, there wasn't anyone suspicious based on what I could see from our footage. And Yagami's like, you're still going to go after our family? And he's like, yep. I find it funny, too, that Elle did not no facial hair at all, nothing. Not a wisp, not a willow, not a speckle on him. He's weird, and I don't know enough about Elle, but I'm like, something's off about him because he's just eating sweets. He doesn't change his appearance. He looks eternally like he needs a nap. Maybe he's human. Maybe he's just an enigma like Light himself, but he's just odd, right? And he just sits there scratching his feet. Even if Kira is among them, he wouldn't give himself away, right? No. It means he was killing criminals as usual without showing it. Yeah. And I love that Chief Yagami's like, you're saying that one of them might still be Kira? You're not going to leave my family alone? And then he's just sitting there like stirring the tea even more. He's like, as I said, there's a 5% probability. And I love that his eyes just click over and he's still got the bags. Oh my God, Elle. I still can't get over that the mangaka sits like that, right? And so he has his little stir there. Interesting, his spoon. I don't know how he does it. But even if he's able to kill just by imagining. And so then during this entire scene, Elle has a monologue to himself that no one else can hear. So it's just him creepily stirring his coffee while they're all just staring at him, and he's just monologuing to himself. And his eyes are so dead, these dead shark eyes. Also, the cup that he has, the handle of the cup has little thorns, like a thorn bush. What are you, Elle? I don't understand. But he's just like, and he comes to the conclusion that while committing these murders, anybody would have some kind of emotional response. Not Light. Nope. And he says, Kira is not among them. That's what most people would conclude. But even if and he's just like creepily staring at his coffee cup, like with his eyes wide. Oh, it's so bizarre, right? If one of them is Kira, his psychological state has already reached godlike levels. Yeah, no, he's just numb. He is a freaking sociopath and he's numb. He does not care. So, judging sinners without expression. And so I like this Elle as he's imagining like the God spearing the mortal. He says, I want to believe that Kira doesn't exist. That this is really divine judgment. But to think that a God would need a person's name and face to kill is ridiculous. That's interesting too. So that brings up a good point, right? That brings up a really good point. I hadn't thought about that, but Elle's like, if you're a god, you don't need to know someone's face and a name to kill them. That's silly. Like, that's silly. If it was divine judgment, then you would just kill them and that'd be the end of it, right? So that hit me in two ways now that I think about it. One, it's funny because it's like him saying, no, this is someone doing this. It's not just a higher power. It's someone and they're doing it somehow. So I want to investigate it. It's that unsolved mystery, right? But then the other thing is, yeah, the death gods have the death note and they need the name and the face to kill them. Why? Why can't they just be like a Grim Reaper and come up and snatch their souls and be done with it? Why do they need to write them in the notebook? I guess that's the mechanic of the world, right? That's the mechanic of the world itself. But that's just interesting that he says that. He's like, if it was divine judgment, they wouldn't need a name and a face to kill someone. They would just kill them. So that's interesting. But yeah, so OL just sitting there obsessing about it. And then it peels back saying this isn't divine judgment. It's the actions of a childish killer who thinks he's a god. And it peels it back and it's a skull. That's all. So he's like, all I'm doing is facing an actual human. He's like, I'm facing a mass murderer and that's it. It's not anything supernatural. So Elle's like, I can beat this because it's not a god. It's just a human, right? He's like, Kira definitely exists. And he's still talking to himself the whole time. Everybody's like staring at him. He's still talking to himself. And I will catch him. But I don't think that Kira will expose himself, even if I keep these cameras in place. No, what should I do? And I love the ripple coming from him. That's so good. I want a picture of that coffee cup, like his face, like his just. Oh my God, Elle's obsession It's so good. Okay. It would be best to get him to tell me himself that he's Kira and have him show me So he basically wants to try to do what Naomi did. He was doing what I thought Naomi was going to do, and that was lure Light to try to write the name in the death note and kill him. But now, thanks to Naomi, damn it, now thanks to Naomi, Light is going to be suspect of a method like that. He's going to be suspect of an alias. So, yeah. But, yeah, and then it just slowly revolving closer and closer, but there's no way I can. And just him thinking about it. And so it's the morning of the exams, right? Or it's the afternoon. It's the afternoon before. And Ryuk notices all the cameras have been removed. And there's a part of me that thinks that maybe Light just didn't want to talk to Ryuk. So he keeps pretending like the cameras are rolling. And so he's like, I don't want to talk. But he frames it as he doesn't know if they're still wiretapping in the rest of the house outside of his room. But Light says that he's no longer a suspect. It went according to plan. But he is right. He says Elle will probably continue to pursue Kira. Oh, you've no idea. And if he's still working with the Japanese police, which he is, then that means that his dad is going to be among the ones being used. That's funny, too. The way that Light says, my father will be among those being used. That's funny because that suggests, like, the idea of being used is that you don't want to comply, but you have no choice. That's funny that he says that because from what we've seen, yeah, Chief Yagami wasn't happy about the wiretaps, but he agreed to it. He gave them permission. I don't know if Light realizes just how much his father hates Kira and the concept of him and wants to catch him. I don't know if he realized that because if he says his father's being used, that would imply that his father doesn't want to be involved in the case. It's like, no, he's like one of the forefronts. He wants the justice enacted. It's just not the same justice as what Light is practicing. So that's fascinating. And so he's like, if that's the case, and I love that he smiles while he what is that image? He's like smiles as he tosses the apple back over his shoulder. Yeah. He tosses it back to Ryuk. And I love, I'll use my father. So, yeah. So then he just turns it right around. He's like, my father's being used by Elle, so I'll use my father too. It's like, Light. I'm like, at the one point, I was like, okay, well, you feel bad for your dad getting used by Elle. That makes sense. You're his son. But he's like, I'll use my dad to find Elle. And I'm like, you don't care about your father being used. Just the fact that he's being used by Elle is what gets him. Oh my gosh. And I love Ryuk just like leaping into frame to go after the apple. He's so happy to finally get his apples. It's so great. Ryuk is like the best source of physical comedy in this because most of the time Ryuk can't talk because he doesn't want to, Light can't talk back to him. So he's just such a source of physical comedy. I love him in this. If I just get rid of Elle, then Kira will be one step closer to becoming the god of the new world. So see, at this point, I'm like, I can't say that I'm Team Light because at this point, it's not really that he's even trying to just do the world good by ridding it of evil. No, his main goal is to become a god of Earth. And while he's a god, he'll be able to kill out all the evil. But the primary goal is for Kira to become the god of the new world, as he says here. So it's like, it's interesting. But yeah, and then we fade to black and we cut to the exam the morning of. The family's seeing him off, being like, go get him, Light. Go get him, He's like, you're making a big fuss over this. I'm going to be the one that gets top score, duh. And so it is kind of creepy that Light is like sitting there like ruminating over the test and Ryuk is just staring at him. Again, kind of like Elle, like he just hunches over staring at him. I see the parallels like a little bit between Ryuk and Elle, and it's interesting. I'm sure it means nothing, but it's funny. And so Ryuk's trying to I like that Ryuk at this point knows that Light can't talk back to him, but he's just making small talk because he knows that Light has to listen to him. And so he's talking about how great it feels now that there's not any wiretaps. Yeah. It's nice to know that one cause of stress is gone before my test. That's the one thing that I thought too. I was like, damn, one of the major reasons, again, luck was on Light's side because the whole thing with the testing was part of the alibi. He could get away with sitting in his room staring at his books for hours on end and no one questioning him because of the exam, right? Like Chief Yagmi's like, oh, we have entrance exams in 5 days. I'm like, what if they'd kept the surveillance cameras for a few days after the tests were over? What if they'd done that? Then what would he have done? He would have had nothing to study for after that. So if he had nothing to study for, why would he need to be studying for like 4 or 5 hours a night? What's the deal? I guess he could have made the excuse that his homework is what he was studying with. So I guess that would work. But it's just it's like such luck that they pull out of the investigation on his house right as the tests are happening. It's like, ugh. So the test center for university admissions for To'o University. Once I start college. This is the part too. He's like, once I start college, I'll have more time to operate as Kira and search for L. So I'll have loads more time to kill people and try to find this other guy once I go to college. I'm like, I don't know how Japanese college goes, but I was busier in college than I was high school. So I guess because he doesn't have to study anymore for the entrance exams. But my thing is too, again, Light is super smart. He didn't really have to study if he didn't want to. It seems like stuff came pretty naturally to him. So I'm like, did he really need to study? Or is it just because he's that much of a perfectionist, right? He's that type of perfectionist that like has to perfectly clean things. And so L still being there is like that little blemish in the carpet he can't get off. And he's like, I need to keep spraying it, right? And then this guy's like, the test is going to start in 10 minutes. Hurry up. And Light, with that ego, says, well, I was planning on going in 3 minutes before the test because I didn't want to wait around in the classroom. I'm sure got here early. And yeah, Ryuk says, talk about confident. And I'm like, talk about an asshole. He kind of is that guy. That guy was just trying to help him get to the test. And Light's like, I've timed this out, sir. I'm like, Light. And then, yeah, so they're all sitting there with the entrance exam. And he's like, you may begin. And in this scene here, Light is already done. Like, he just is like, I already know how to finish this. I'm good. Like, just that cockiness, like, doesn't even pretend like he knows. And at first, I thought the instructor was going towards him. At first, I thought the instructor was going to be like, you're already done? Because they have 9:30 to 11 to work on the test. They have like an hour and a half. And so, for a moment, I thought that the instructor was going to get on to Light for being done already. But no. He walked, and I think Light expected that too, but he walks past him. And he goes to pick it up again. He says, you there, number 162. Sit in your seat properly. But he sat that way. Oh, to get his attention. The moment you see them damn bare feet, the fact that he went barefoot to the exam, the moment you see them bare feet, I was like, oh, you are shitting me. No. That L being that bold. And he holds the pencil the same way he holds his phone, like just barely there. And just like 4 rows behind. And he just looks like a cat. Like just, oh my God. It's bizarre. It's so bizarre. And Light's like, what the hell? And yeah, and just like the pupils are totally dilated on Elle's eyes. Oh, which I know some people have that. My friend, she has like one of her pupils is like super dilated, but his are both like that. It's crazy. Oh my God. So, okay. I was so floored with the fact that Elle just showed up at the exam that I didn't get a chance to, I was too floored to read the intermission cards. One says, a god of death cannot be killed even if stabbed in his heart with a knife or shot in the head with a gun. However, there are ways to kill a god of death, which are not generally known to the gods of death. What? So there is a way to kill Shinigami. It's just not by stabbing them or shooting them. I'm assuming, is it writing their names in the death note maybe? But I thought Ryuk said that that wouldn't work. So there is a way to kill a Shinigami. All right, and then this other one said that about a god of death. This is a long, yeah, the conditions for death will not be realized unless it is physically possible for that human or it is reasonably assumed to be carried out by that human. Okay, so the only deaths that can befall a human in the Death Note are ones they've inflicted on themselves, or one that's happened just to them. Okay. He can't force somebody else to... That's why he says they involved in an accident. But Light can't order somebody to kill L. He can't make his father kill L. He can't write that in the Death Note. That's not how that works. Okay. But still, the fact that Shinigami can be killed. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Okay. So, we go back to the Shinigami world, speak of the devil. And back in this world, we see the one Shinigami with the headdress pop up and says there's been a lot of Shinigami looking real hard into the human world lately. And like, what's going on? It seems Ryuk has turned into some human's pet. And I love that there's like, what in the world's he thinking? Yeah. Interesting. He's a disgrace to all Shinigami. I'm talking about the human. Yeah, so they were like, what is he thinking? And they're like, oh, well, that Ryuk, he's a disgrace. Like, no. What's the human thinking, keeping him as a pet? Poor Ryuk. Ryuk even gets shits on by the Shinigami. Poor Ryuk. Feel bad for him. And he says, Ryuk's probably not a very cute pet. I disagree. Ryuk is adorable. He's freaking cute. With his apple addiction. And they're like, well, yeah. So what kind of human is keeping him? Is it a woman or a man? Why does that matter? This one guy that looks like a creature from the Black Lagoon is like, who knows? And then this Shinigami says, I guess I'll go take a peek as well. That does not bode well. I don't like the idea of this headdress Shinigami being like, oh, I'll go check things out and see how Ryuk's doing. But here's the thing. Ryuk said that he wasn't going to tell L anything about the names with the other person. Would this Shinigami tell L? Would he tell Light? Like, I don't know. I feel like this other Shinigami deciding that he's going to go check things out is really bad and is not going to lead to something good. Not at all. I don't like it. Nope. But we cut from the entrance exam to the opening ceremonies. And of course, there's Light showing up in his like blue suit, looking all suave. Yeah, right? With the cherry blossoms. And he's just like, I'm ready to give this entrance exam. I scored my 100% on the test. Top of the nation. Yeah. And I love Ryuk's reaction. It's like Mushu from Mulan where he's like, they grow up so fast. He's like, so you're a college student now, huh, Light? I'm kind of filled with emotion. He's like, my baby's all grown up and becoming god of the new world. It's so ridiculous. But the freshman address. So the freshman representative, Light Yagami. And he's like, oh, you get to speak. And they're like, and the other freshman representative, Hideki Ryuga. I'm like, so... How they let L in. They made him put on shoes, and they're the dingiest Converse in the world. They're like something he picked up out of a trash bin. And they're like, oh yeah. And they're like, Hideki Ryuga, the pop idol? And they're like, no, couldn't be. There's no way he's smart enough to enter Toho. So I'm guessing Toho is a pretty prestigious university, and it's very hard to get in. It's like maybe like a Harvard or a Yale or something like that. And like, he doesn't even look anything like him. Like, oh. But they made him wear shoes. And the shoelaces aren't tied. And here's the thing. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh no. Nope. L is off my good list. You know why? L's off my good list? Because he's not wearing shoes the right way. My cousin does this and I want to scream. He's got the shoes, and where the back of the shoe is, like the heel, instead of putting his foot inside the shoe like a normal civilized person, he's got his heel over the back of the shoe, and it's crunched down and ruining it. Nope. That's like one of my big pet peeves with shoes. I'm like, put the shoe on. Like Studio Ghibli took the extra frames to animate and Spirited Away her putting the shoe on all the way. Put it on all the way. He's just like got his foot crushed down on the heel. Nope. L, you're on my bad list now. No more sweets for you, sir, until you learn how to wear a pair of shoes. But it's almost like he's just so lazy about it. And you see Light walk up in this pristine suit, this beautiful posh suit, and he's like the picture perfect goody boy, to be the top representative of the class. And then you see as he looks like I heard someone else is going to give the address, and then hunched over is Elle, hunched over like a damn desert coyote. And he's the guy who's sitting weird behind me on the first day exams. And Elle is just like fixated on Light, just like laser focused in, like he's so creepy. Ah! Oh my God. He completely stood out from everyone else. It's so funny seeing these pictures because in any other story, if you just recontextualized it a little bit in this episode, he stood out from everyone else. It's like if you just recontextualized it just a little bit, it would almost be a BL. And I'm not trying to make Death Note into a BL, but it's just if you just recontextualize it just a little bit, just a wee bit, then it could be. Oh my God. Oh, and I just love that Light's sitting there, like, reading, like, the life springs renewed in the breath of spring, like, reading the poem, and he's just sitting there proceeding, and Elle's all hunched over, like, an ancient man. Oh my God. Oh my God. And, like, the person who scored the highest is supposed to do this, right? So those two are the top scores this year. They scored 100% in all subjects. So establishing that Elle and Light are both the two smartest in the room. They're the two smartest. I just like that Elle's like just hunched over there. Oh my God. Seriously? They're like, I guess people are really like that. It's amazing. The one girl's like, I definitely like the guy on the right. And they're like, Kyoko, you're weird. So, okay, Kyoko, the one on the right though would be Light, right? So why is she weird? For a second I thought she meant she liked Elle. And I'm like, girl, I get it. It's the most bizarre thing. But I'm like, if it's on the right, then wouldn't it be, or maybe from her right? So from looking out this way, from looking out into the audience, Light was over here, which would be from this angle, would be the right from behind. But from her perspective, she's looking to the right, so it would be Light. So it'd be Elle. So she thinks that Elle is cute. And the one girl's like, you're weird. I'm like, no, she's not. Most people would choose the one on the left. Most people would choose. And that's the manipulation, is that you think you'd choose Light. But little do you know, he'd probably go Patrick Bateman and like throw an axe at you. And they say, but those two sure are different. I love this description. This is great. One looks like a brilliant genius from a sheltered family. Yes, that is the persona that Light gives off. He's this brilliant genius, but he's like, you're from a sheltered family. You've had everything given to you. You have the nice suit, the nice haircut, all this. And then the other one, and he's just holding the poem by one finger. I love it. Oh my God. As he's reading it, seems wild, or at least very weird. Is that what people would call a genius? And he's just dressed in like the plain white shirt and the baggy pants. He's doing the address for the Toho entrance ceremony dressed like that. He's either not taking this seriously or an idiot. Thank you very much, Hideki Ryuga. Yeah, it's funny because, and the clothes don't even seem like they fit properly. I'm so confused. Which, it's weird. Elle wears like this weird fashion and doesn't seem to ever change clothes. But then he clearly comes from money because Watari has the nice vehicle. So I can't wait to learn more about Elle. We're just not there yet. But what? It's so bizarre. And then everybody's like, okay, that was an entrance ceremony. Mm-hmm. And so then, and he's just sitting there like scratching his, and see, Light even bows, and Elle's just sitting there scratching his head, like not even bowing, like we've talked about this in the comments too, but Light and Elle are both very socially awkward in different ways. Light puts on the persona of being well put together, and when you talk to him, it seems like he's well put together too, but the thing is, Light doesn't care about anything. He's like, I don't care about you. I don't care. I'm just making, he's just making small talk and putting on a front, right? But the reality is he's just kind of socially awkward and withdrawn, and not necessarily socially awkward, but he's withdrawn and just doesn't care. He's not empathetic at all. Elle, on the other hand, is the opposite, and goes against all social conventions. Like, he doesn't wear shoes. He has like the same pair of clothes on all the time. He just like, when Light sat there and bowed like you should, he just sit there and like scratches his head like a feral mongrel. Like, he just doesn't act like he knows what to do, but he's much better, oddly enough, at communicating with others and understanding others, I think, than Light is. He has much more empathy. He says Yagami-kun. I love that he calls him Yagami-kun. I'm like, oh God, like just establishing that. And so he establishes he knows who he is. He's like, I know you're the son of Soichi Yagami, and you have a sense of justice, which rivals that of your respect for your father. And Light's like, who the hell is he? And I love that he sits in the chair the same way, like all hunched up, like a cat. He's like, you aim to become an MPA official. So that's what Light's going to school for, to work in the same department as his dad. And have helped solve the police cases in the past. And just the whole time he's saying it, his eyes, he looks like one of those cat clocks on the wall that's eyes like go in the metronome back and forth. That's what he looks like. He looks like one of those cat clocks. He's like, you're showing great interest in the Kira case. I have faith in your sense of justice and abilities. And if you swear not to tell anyone, I'll tell you something very important regarding the Kira case. So this is the thing. Elle is trying to play and do the exact same thing to Light that Light did to Naomi. It's tweaked a little bit. It's tweaked ever so slightly, but he's trying to elicit an emotional response out of Light. And it's the same type of manipulation that Light himself tried to do on Naomi. So it's like, it's crazy, right? And I like that Light looks over like, what is this all of a sudden? And I love that Elle's just waiting for his reaction. He's just watching him, waiting to see how he reacts. It's like, he's like, should I just ignore him? He's like, should I ignore him? But what is this important information regarding the Kira case? So yeah, here's the thing. If Light had just ignored him, if he'd just been like, then nothing probably would have came of this, right? That probably would have eliminated the probability, right? Because if he didn't care, would have been fine. But curiosity kills the cat, and he's like, I really want to know. So it's like he gets lured in. He was tempted into the trap, right? And then once he asks, it's over. He's like, I won't tell anyone. What is it? I did not, what I thought he was going to say is, I thought that Elle was going to be like, you're Kira. That's what I thought he was going to say. I thought he was going to be like, you're Kira. But I guess Light could have countered that. But I thought Ryuzaki, our boy Elle, I thought he was going to say, you're Kira, and just to see what the response would be. But then again, he might have been like, oh, well, he could have instantly denied it. So instead, let's just go straight to the point. And I love that he just turns his head quickly. He's like, I'm Elle. Like, just, it's almost like, I'm Batman. I'm Batman. Yeah, that's exactly what this is, right? It's like you go up to the villain. It's like Elle walks right up to the villain of the story. And if it were Batman and the Riddler, he'd be like, hey, I'm Batman, so what are you going to do? And it's just like, what do you do, right? It's classic. Oh my God, it's so classic. And then just like the red and blue, and he's just staring at him to see what he'll do. Oh my God. And he's like, it couldn't be. What is he talking about? He can't be. But he's just staring at him. There's no way that Elle would say that he's Elle. I thought he was weird, but is he actually insane? Yes. I think so. This isn't good. No. He's like, don't be shocked if he really is Elle, then you have to act naturally. Yeah, I love that he's just like, okay, I've got to act like the son of a chief of police would act. He's like, I can't show any weakness. And he just looks back at him and he's just like, yes, how are you going to answer? Like, oh my God, I love it. And he's like, if you truly are who you say you are, then I respect and admire you. It's just like just building this rapport between them, the ultimate Sherlock and Moriarty. He's like, thank you. I revealed myself because I think that you can be of help in solving the Kira case. Again, yeah. He's like, Light Yagami, the probability that you are Kira is just under 5%. But out of everyone we were watching, I sensed something from you. Yeah, you were the most suspicious. You're too perfect. Yeah. And again, if you're Kira, there's nothing that could pressure you more than this. Again, if you took out some of the stuff about Kira and it's just like, you're too perfect. Like, the lines are all there, right? It's all there. And so I love that Ryuk is like, if this guy's really Elle, he's something else. The funny thing is Ryuk knows his name. He knows his name. He knows his lifespan. That's the funny thing, right? And Ryuk's not going to tell him. Damn. If he really is L. No, even if he isn't L, then you can't do anything. He's like, I can't do anything to him. I don't know his real name. And I just love that L's just sitting there the whole time like just waiting. But yeah, he's like, I can't do anything to him. I don't know his name. I can't kill him. I can't do a darn thing. Yeah, oh, he's like, if what he's saying is true, he's probably already shown his face to my father. If he dies as soon as he's revealed himself to me, then I'll be suspicious. Yeah, oh God, I love it. It would immediately cast suspicion onto me. He's using an obvious alias like Hideki Ryuga. Because, yeah, here's the thing. He's like, if his name really isn't Hideki Ryuga, and I try killing him writing his name in the death note, then I might accidentally think of the pop star and he'll die. So it's like, how you gonna go? Because it's like, the pop star is the ultimate innocent in this case, right? The pop star is the ultimate innocent because the pop star hasn't tried to stop Light at all. So killing him really would be killing someone totally innocent, and they could run with that, right? I also want to note that in the still here of the pop idol Ryuga on the TV screen, it just looks like Light with a cloud wig from Final Fantasy. It just looks like if Light's head, not L, but if Light's head had a cloud wig, cosplay wig from Final Fantasy, that's what the Ryuga guy looks like. Oh my God. But he won't die, and he'll infer that I'm Kira. Is he really L? So that's the question. And does he suspect that I'm Kira? Yes and yes. That's what you don't realize. I don't know how much he knows, but I'm sure he suspects me. And he took the shoes off to sit in the chair. There's no other reason for him to tell Soichiro Yagami's son that he's L. No. Oh my God. Does this mean that he's still focusing on the people that Ray Pinbar was investigating? I just love that they're just sitting there in silence. It's a great bookend because you have the beginning of the episode where L was sitting there like ruminating and just sitting there monologuing to himself about doing like a soliloquy, doing like just a monologue to himself about him suspecting Light. And now we're bookending the episode with Light having this monologue about suspecting L. And it's a great like parallel from beginning to end of the episode. Because like, how do I answer? I've got to keep my mind blank. I need to look calm. He's definitely watching me to see if I'm rattled or not. Yeah. And I just love in that moment where when Ryuzaki just has his like hand next to his face and his eyes are like such blue, he almost looks angelic. He almost looks angelic, like looking up ahead, like just waiting to see what will happen. Oh, and he just does like the thumb across the lip, like, what are you gonna do? And they all end up leaving. And as they're leaving, I love that Ryuk's like, wow, Light, that was a fun college entrance ceremony. My first one that we know of. We don't know how many of these Ryuk's been to. He's like, that was a fun ceremony. And then he's like, Yagami-kun. Stops him in his tracks. Yeah, Yagami-kun. I love he's like, hey, Light, he's calling you. I just love how grumpy Light looks. He's just like, what does this weirdo want? Again, I can't, y'all. The vibes. And he's just sitting there. He's like, it was nice to meet you. He's just like, has hands in pockets. He's like, it was nice to meet you. And he's like, oh no, the pleasure was all mine. And then he just like stalks away, right? But he stalks away like a damn dinosaur. It's the weirdest thing. And then the seat opens up and they're like, wow, what an amazing car. A limousine. He's like, I'll see you around campus. Oh yeah. It's like, want to hop in my limo, Light? And then Watari goes, where's that rich kid from? And he's the top of the class? What a jerk. L's not made any friends at school on the first day. Nope. But oh my God, Light. The moment he goes back, and the moment I saw him on the train and his face was dark, I'm like, oh no, he's pissed. He's pissed because if that was L, he had him right there and he couldn't do anything about it. Oh my God. Ah! Yeah. The moment I'm like, and he goes in the house and then just like, the thing that really gave it away The thing that gave it away that Light was super pissed is when he took off his shoes, he slowly put them together properly. That's like such a Jason Bateman, like just, or a Patrick Bateman, not Jason Bateman, not the actor, but like a Patrick Bateman, like American Psycho, just like putting it together nice and neat. And being like, gonna go Blair hip to be square as loud as he can. And then, yeah, like, welcome home, Toe, university student. And he's like, him getting pissed. I love it. And him just being like, and we see, and because Ryuk's like, oh man, hey, you're really quiet, Light. And his face, damn it, he got me. Like Light getting mad and having like that just like rage face. Oh my God. Just him being purely mad. He's like, damn it, Elle, I've never been so humiliated in my life. I'm like, that's the most you were humiliated, was some guy showed you up at your college entrance. I guess some guy showed you up at your college entrance ceremony. It's like, you worked so hard, Light, to get to the top of your class, and this guy walked up and not only tied you to be top of his class, not only shared the stage with you and all the glory, but then showed you up that he knew exactly what your game was and was suspecting you. And the thing, oh man, I love it. God. He's like, why don't you just do the Shinigami ideal with me, and then you won't have this problem. He's like, you can just kill him when you see him on campus next time. And then I love that Light's like, well, what good will that do if it's a trap? I want to watch the dub right now. Oh man, so excited. If he's not really Elle, then that would just be like telling Elle that I'm Kira. Yeah, because it's just like the Lind L. Taylor thing. If he's not really Elle, if he's just somebody that he had coerced into doing this and he does kill him, then he's going to know that he's Kira. So he can't do that. He can't just kill him. Not until he knows for sure. And I like the Ryuk's like, oh geez, sorry. Sorry you're so mad. Yeah, he's like, I can't just kill him. That's the thing. He doesn't know his name, one. He doesn't know his real name. And he's like, and I can't just kill him. It'll be too suspicious. And he's like, Shinigami killing people and humans killing people aren't the same thing. That's a really good line too. I mean, on the surface, I'm sure that there's like a symbolic thing about it that even Light isn't privy to at this point, that we, the audience, aren't privy to, that'll come out later. But on a surface level, Shinigami, when they kill people, there's no repercussions for the Shinigami. They just gain extra life. But Light killing Elle is going to have a repercussion. I'm glad he's maybe getting self-aware. Maybe he's starting to get self-aware that his actions do have some trajectory beyond like what he's been thinking it has. He's like, I want to kill him no matter what it takes. But if I do, it'll be traced back to me. The Death Note can only kill a person whose name I write in it. I cannot control someone else to kill someone else. It's a good caveat that also suggests that Light has tried that. He's tried to have somebody else kill another person. Good to know you can't do that. That there isn't a limit to what you can do with the Death Note. And then I love that he says, the Death Note is a pain in the ass. I'm like, you've been using it all this time to become a god. Now it's a pain in the ass because you can't get your way. I love how Elle just puts a damper on his ego. It's just like he just knocks him down just a peg. His Light's been doing real good. He's been doing real good, and this was the first win for Elle, and it just so pissed Light off. Oh, it's so great. Oh my God. And Ryuk's like, you don't have to tell me twice. He's like, Light's usually calm, but he's fuming now. He's pretty annoyed. Yeah. He's like, at first I thought when I found out his name, I'd have to get him in an accident or commit suicide. But it's no good unless I know 100% that he's Elle. Yeah, so you can't, until there's no shadow of, so that's the thing. They both, at this point, both Light and Elle are in this situation where they're kind of at a stalemate at the moment because they can't make a move until they erase all doubt of who each other is. So Elle can't go after Light until he knows for sure that he's Kira. Light can't go after Elle until he's sure that it's Elle. And so they're just kind of at this, they're stuck in the same boat, right? Oh, no, even if I do know it's him, it may be too late. Yeah, I love that he's thinking it through out loud. He's like, no matter what the cause of death, if Elle dies, it'll cast suspicion on me. I underestimated him. Yeah. I never thought Elle would come up to me and say, I'm Elle. Yeah, bold move, Cotton, right? A bold move indeed. But the thing is, Light can't do the same. He can't go up to Elle and say, I'm Kira, because then the game is over, right? Because Kira's the one that's being suspect, the one that's being wanted. But in Elle's case, yeah, Elle can come up and say he's Elle. What does that matter to the common person? Nothing, because Elle's not really known, except by the police and like the inner circle. He's like, he just has to tell all the suspects that he is Elle, even if he's his double. Yeah, this is a solid defense as well as an attack against Kira. Yep, yeah, Light's figured it out. Oh my god. I love how pissed off he looks. And he says, he beat me. It was a good move. Ryuga will continue to play dumb and probably continue to approach me to try to figure out if he's Kira or not and manipulate me at the university. And then only as Miyano Mamoru can do, although the Brad guy does a pretty good laugh too, but Miyano Mamoru with his legs crossed with the laugh, looking quite insane. Looking quite insane. Like the animation gets a little, I was reminded, this is the weirdest reference, I was reminded of the Care Bears movie, of Nicholas from the Care Bears movie. From the 80s version. There's some animation in the 80s Care Bear movie that this is looking pretty similar to at the end here when Light gets all creepy. Yeah, I was like, oh, and just like, he looks freakishly evil there, laughing. And Ryuk's like, the hell? I'm with Ryuk. Oh my god. And he's like, this is great. So yeah, Light just turns around. It's like, there's nothing to worry about. Like, he just, even if he's in a state of denial, it's brilliant. And if he really thinks that he's turned the tables, it's just Light thinking out loud. When Light thinks out loud, he finds the way to thread things together for himself. He's like, oh wait, I can do this and I can do that. Like he manages to come up with a plan while he's thinking out loud, which is what he does here. He's like, there's nothing to worry about. No. This proves they don't have anything on me. So yeah, that is true. Light does do a good job figuring out, okay, the police, they can't prove that I'm Kira. They have nothing on me. Otherwise, Elle wouldn't have gone to such lengths, right? He's like, Elle wouldn't have revealed himself and played such a big hand unless he felt there were no other options. So he's like, okay. He's like, Elle, the police don't have anything on me. So Elle needed to swoop in himself. And so he's like, I'm fine. The police have no clue who I am, that I'm Kira. He's like, it's a contest between me and Elle. Yeah, he's like, Elle and I, it's a contest between us because the police no longer have a lead on me. So I don't have to worry about the police. It's just between Elle and I. Oh, and he's like, it's a game of wits. It's Sherlock versus Moriarty, baby. On the surface, we'll be friendly acquaintances on campus. And Ryuk's like, is this the plot of a fan fiction? He's like, on campus, we'll pretend to be friends. And in reality, we'll be investigating each other. Are you Elle? Are you Kira? It's a will they, won't they be for the ages. This will be fun, Ryuga. If it's a friendship you want from me, I'll gladly accept. I'll make you trust me. And once I pulled everything out of you, I'll kill you with my bare hands. Here's the thing, though. I was like, once you get you to trust me, I don't think Elle is going to trust Light. I don't think Elle is like Naomi. No. And I don't think, because Naomi had the emotional attachment to her fiance, as well as the desire to be put on the case as an FBI member. So it was her pride as an FBI agent and her love of her fiance that allowed her to open herself up to accept Light's trust and accept her trust in Light, and it killed her. But I'm like, he thinks he's going to get Elle to trust him, but I'm like, Elle seems like the most cautious person. I don't know. I'm sure that Light's going to try to find a way to manipulate it, but I'm like, I don't know how, right? And he's like, I'm going to pull everything out of you and kill you with my bare hands. Like, oof. And that grin on Light's face. Light has looked, it's come a long way from the start of this series when Light was looking into the sunlight and being like, I'm such an innocent young knave. And now that look there is like, that look at the end of the episode is the look of a villain, a look of an antagonist. It just is. It's the look of an antagonist. Oh my God. And then it's to be continued. So yeah, I don't know. So obviously Light is gonna try to become friends with Elle. I never thought that. I thought they were gonna stay apart so long in this series. I thought that them confronting one another would be like something that would happen like in the 20s, like way down the line. I thought that Elle and Light would continue to be like cat and mouse away from each other, will they, won't they, for episodes and episodes, for at least another dozen episodes. But no, we're getting it right now. Like, they've already met, and now they're going to become friends, so they can try to figure each other out. It's a love story for the ages. I'm not worried for Elle right now, because I think Light thinks he's going to get Elle to trust him. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen, because Elle doesn't trust really anybody. But they are going to get closer, I think, to each other and realize how similar they are. I'm more worried about the Shinigami that thinks it's going to go come find Ryuk. I'm more worried about that thing, because here's the thing. Light can't see that Shinigami. I'm assuming Ryuk can, but Light can't see that Shinigami, because unless he gives him the Death Note, humans can't see him. So Light's not going to be able to see this other Shinigami. What is that going to do? Like, is Ryuk going to be the only ones? Is Ryuk going to get distracted and get taken away by this other Shinigami for a moment, and then something happen with Light and Elle? I don't know. But I'm more worried about the Shinigami going to the human world right now than anything. I mean, the Light and Elle stuff, get me my popcorn next episode. I want to sit here and just eat it and be like, yes. This episode was so good. I could eat it up. This episode was amazing. This episode and the last episode have been my favorite so far, I think. I think out of the whole series, episodes 8 and 9 have been my favorite so far. They're just so good. And the cat and mouse, the game of wits. This is what I love about stories, when there's this like mystery and this back and forth chase of wits. I'm like, I love it. I love stories that have like a duo of protagonist, antagonist that are constantly against each other, right? And the funny thing is, if you think that Elle is the protagonist, then Light is the antagonist. And if you think that Light is the protagonist, then Elle's the antagonist. So you can kind of go both ways. But it's still, it's so exciting. But I can't wait. To see what's going to happen. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited for the next episode. I hope y'all are too. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. But please no spoilers. Please no hints, no clues, no spoilers. I've loved going to the series and being so surprised, and I can't wait to keep being surprised. But yeah, this episode was amazing, and I can't wait for episode 10. So we're pretty much at well, no, we're not a third of the way. We are not a third of the way through the series. I can't believe that. We're still not a third of the way through. We're not going to be a third of the way through until maybe episode 11? 12? No, episode 12 will be like a third of the way through, but that's it. We're still not a third of the way through the series. Holy cow. But that's really exciting. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Death Note. Bye.